Chapter 2407. Everyone was excited to see Luo Hongying. There were many surprises in this Immortal Ruins auction. No one knew what the next 10 treasures would be up for auction. Luo Hongying smiled charmingly at the crowd below the stage. She waved her hand and a wooden box appeared in her hand. As soon as the wooden box appeared, everyone's attention was drawn to it. However, the restriction on the wooden box was so powerful that it blocked everyone's soul remembrance. Therefore, they could only see the wooden box but didn't know what treasure was inside. After Tang Ao scanned it with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao knew that there was a 4th rank restriction on the wooden box. Tang Ao could open this restriction, but if Tang Ao touched it, Luo Hongying would naturally know. Luo Hongying took out this wooden box and naturally wanted to open it. Tang Ao didn't need to forcibly break this restriction just to see what was inside. Luo Hongying smiled and slowly opened the wooden box after she successfully piqued everyone's interest. There was a broad beam glowing with green light in the wooden box. When they saw this thing, most of them had a blank look on their faces. Obviously, they didn't know what it was. Tang Ao couldn't help but take a deep breath when he saw this broad beam glowing with green light. The last 10 treasures of the Immortal Ruins auction were indeed not simple. This broad bean was called wood cardamom, which was a kind of divine item that had been extinct for a long time. Not to mention the Langya boundary, even the entire true martial world couldn't find a Zimu cardamom. This wood cardamom wasn't a natural immortal herb. It was refined by an alchemist using the soul-nurturing bean. The soul-nurturing bean was originally an ordinary immortal herb. Its function was simple: to nourish the soul. However, ever since an alchemist used a special method to refine the soul-nurturing bean into a wood cardamom, the soul-nurturing bean was destroyed. The wood cardamom's function was to nourish a strand of a martial artist's blood soul. In other words, as long as you had a wood cardamom, you could put a strand of your blood soul into the wood cardamom to nourish it. This wisp of blood soul is connected to your life, but it is currently in a dormant state. However, your main body must have fallen, and the seed wood cardamom will awaken. Even if your soul has been destroyed, because of the existence of the blood soul in the Zimu cardamom, you can seize another body and be reborn. As long as he could get this seed wood cardamom, it was equivalent to having 2 lives. Thus, many people were confused, but there were also some whose eyes were red and their breathing became hurried. Compared to his own life, other treasures were not treasures at all. Therefore, many people were looking at this life-saving item with fiery eyes. After cultivating a seed wood cardamom, even if his body and soul were destroyed, he would not die. Of course, it was not easy to cultivate. Everyone had gone through countless hardships and dangers to reach their current level of cultivation. With the Zimu cardamom, he would be able to preserve a trace of his blood soul after his death. However, this trace of blood soul did not have a strong cultivation base, and it would need to be possessed to regain a body. Therefore, there were always different opinions about this seed cardamom. Some people thought that it was the most precious treasure in the world, while others thought that the Zimu cardamom was an evil and vicious thing. Chapter 2408. As you can see, this is a wood cardamom. Some of the friends here know about Zimu cardamom, while some have never heard of it. Now let me tell you about it. The wood cardamom is refined from the soul-nourishing bean, an immortal spirit herb that has already gone extinct in the true martial world. So far, no one has been able to cultivate the soul-nourishing bean. You can only find traces of the soul-nourishing bean in some relics and the treasures of the great forces. After listening to Luo Hongying's introduction, Tang Ao knew that apart from bidding for treasures that he needed, there was another great benefit of attending an auction like this, which was to broaden his horizons. Just like now, many people didn't know the relationship between the soul cultivation bean and the wood cardamom, but Luo Hongying introduced them to everyone in detail. Of course, there was a reason why he spoke in such detail. The more detailed he was, the more the crowd would understand. The more he learned about it, the more he realized how precious it was. Needless to say, after knowing the preciousness of this Zimu cardamom, everyone would definitely compete to fight for it. When auctioning an item, no matter what it was, there would be a 10% handling fee. Therefore, the higher the price of the item, the more profit the auction house would make. Luo Hongying quickly finished the introduction of the Zimu cardamom. Before Luo Hongying's introduction, almost 2/3 of the warriors present didn't know the use of the Zimu cardamom, but after Luo Hongying finished, everyone eagerly looked at the wooden box on the auction stage. Having this seed wood cardamom was equivalent to having an extra life. Although the Zimu cardamom was heavily restricted, it did not affect its heaven-defying effect. Well, that's enough chatter. Now, let's start the auction of this seed wood cardamom. This alphabet cardamom doesn't accept immortal crystals. It will be auctioned by bartering for 30 minutes. The highest bidder will get it. Tang Ao thought to himself, sure enough, a treasure like the Zimu cardamom, its value could no longer be measured by immortal crystals. That was why they used this method of bartering. But even so, if there was no item that satisfied the auctioneer in the auction, they wouldn't be able to get this seed wood cardamom. Tang Ao was not very interested in this wooden cardamom. What Tang Ao was more interested in was the soul nourishing bean used to refine the wood cardamom. Unfortunately, the soul nurturing bean had already gone extinct. Even Tang Ao did not have a soul nurturing bean plant on him. Therefore, if a soul nurturing bean appeared now, Tang Ao was willing to bid for it. But now it was the seed cardamom, so there was no need for Tang Ao to expose his financial resources. Ordinary people may not know, but as an alchemist, Tang Ao immediately knew that this was a failed alchemy product after learning about the Zimu cardamom. After careful analysis, Tang Ao discovered that the creator of the Zimu cardamom, alchemist Zimu, originally wanted to use the Zimu cardamom to reconstruct the corporeal body of a fallen martial artist. In other words, after a martial artist's body perished, the seed wood cardamom would immediately awaken and help the martial artist reconstruct their physical body. In the end, alchemist Zimu made a mistake somewhere, causing the greatest effect of the wooden cardamom to be unable to be unleashed. There were more than 300 ways to refine wooden cardamom in Zhen Wu Jie. Chapter 2409. Hearing Luo Hongying say that the seed wood cardamom would be traded with other items, everyone went silent for a while. There were many treasures that could compete with the seed wood cardamom, and many people here could take them out. However, everyone was hesitating whether they should expose their treasures or not. With the reputation of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, it would be fine even if they exposed their treasures. However, this time, the Immortal Ruins auction was not held in the Langya realm, but in another Immortal Ruins. In the Langya realm, it would be easy to escape. Even if they exposed their treasures, as long as they were smart, it would not be a problem. However, things were different now that they were in the Immortal Ruins. After leaving the Immortal Ruins, they were surrounded by an endless void. Yin-Yang realm martial artists could ignore this kind of void, but astral-reaching realm martial artists would be in great danger if they entered this kind of void. However, the silence didn't last long. Immediately, a martial artist opened his mouth. The martial artist who spoke was no stranger to everyone. It was Wei Xiaozi, who had been in the limelight a while ago. President Luo, I wonder what kind of treasure this seed wood cardamom will be exchanged for? Please tell us in detail. Otherwise, if we all take out our treasures and test them one by one, wouldn't it be a waste of time? As soon as Wei Xiaozi said this, a lot of people looked at him with gratitude. Apart from a few people, most people here didn't care about time. After cultivating to the astral-reaching realm, martial artists had a lifespan of 100,000 years. How many days could a mere auction take? The reason why everyone was grateful to Wei Xiaozi was because if Luo Hongying really gave them a direction, then they would naturally not need to take out their treasures if they didn't meet the requirements of the seed wood cardamom. Brother Xiaoza is indeed straightforward. It's just that by saying this, you'll be helping everyone, but offending the Immortal Ruins auction. Brother Xiaoza, aren't you afraid at all? Ah! Wei Xiaoza laughed. The Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce has dominated the 4 great martial realms, and is even rooted in the Langya realm, controlling 50% of the cultivation resources there. Of course, I'm afraid. Of course, I think that such a big Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce wouldn't make things difficult for a little Wei Xiaoza. On the 3rd floor, Tang Ao was listening to the conversation between Wei Xiaoza and Luo Hongying. He was hesitating whether he should buy this seed wood cardamom or not. Although Tang Ao wanted the soul cultivation bean more, this kind of seed wood cardamom was also a treasure that could only be found by luck. However, Tang Ao didn't know what kind of treasure the seller wanted to exchange for the Zimu cardamom. Since Big Brother Xiaoza has asked, I'll say a few words to everyone. This wooden cardamom was put up for auction by an elder of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. This elder needs a portion of living soil. If they had living soil, as long as it was the size of a fist, they could exchange it immediately. Other than the first time, we can consider any soil suitable for planting immortal spirit herbs and other supplementary treasures. Luo Hongying paused for a moment before continuing. Now that I've mentioned it, I'm sure everyone knows who this elder is. That's right, the person who put up this wooden cardamom is the first alchemist of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. He's also the supreme elder of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, Lu Musheng. Elder Lu definitely has more treasures than this wooden cardamom. As long as you can satisfy Elder Lu, he definitely won't let you down. Chapter 24:10. As the only Pill Emperor in Langya Boundary, Pill Emperor Lu is indeed extraordinary. But I don't know what this life soil is. It's a supplementary treasure for growing immortal herbs. Who would collect it if they weren't pill masters? What a pity. I don't have life soil, but I wonder if a gourd of life soil will do. After Luo Hongying said that Lu Musheng had put this wood cardamom up for auction, the martial artists from Langya Boundary started discussing. As for the martial artists from Ruins of Immortality, most of them were still confused. But even in Ruins of Immortality, very few martial artists had heard of Lu Musheng. Hence, they were whispering to the people around them. Tang Ao immediately understood that Lu Musheng was the chief pill master of Ruins of Immortality Chamber of Commerce. At the same time, Lu Musheng was a 7th grade pill master and the only pill emperor in Langya Boundary. In true martial boundary, 1st grade to 3rd grade pill masters were known as pill monarchs. 4th grade to 6th grade pill masters were known as pill kings. 7th grade to 9th grade pill masters were known as pill emperors. Langya Boundary was vast and had countless territories. But in the vast Langya Boundary, there was only one pill emperor, Lu Musheng. Hence, Lu Musheng's name was known everywhere in Langya Boundary. Even in a remote place like Ruins of Immortality, people had heard of him. While everyone was discussing Lu Musheng was behind the auction stage, enveloping it with his sole remembrance. Lu Musheng rarely left Ruins of Immortality Chamber of Commerce in Langya Boundary. This time, he had come to Ruins of Immortality because one of his in-name disciples had found a soul-nurturing flower there. The eruption of the heavenly fire ruins had exposed some of the ancient cave dwellings within. Just like how Tang Ao had found the sword-refining fruit in an ancient cave abode, Lu Musheng's in-name disciple had found a soul-nurturing flower in an ancient cave abode. The soul-nurturing flower was the plant of the soul-nurturing bean. As long as it was cared for properly, it could produce countless soul-nurturing beans. However, the soul-nurturing flower was extinct now. Even a super chamber of commerce like Ruins of Immortality Chamber of Commerce did not have a soul-nurturing flower. However, the soul-nourishing flower was in a very bad state at the moment. The defensive array that was originally used to protect the soul-nourishing flower was already broken. That defense array was an ancient array formation, and its structure was completely different from the current array formations. The greatest use of that formation was to provide nutrients for the soul-nourishing true flower, providing it with an endless supply of vitality. Now that there was no array formation, there was only the life soil to nurture the soul-nourishing true flower. In the main building of the Shop of Immortality, there were many treasures that were even better than the life soil, let alone the life soil. However, even if Lu Mushing set off now, it would still take him 20 days to return to the headquarters of the Chamber of Immortality in the Langya realm. Right now, this soul-nourishing true flower could not even last for 1 day, let alone 20 days. Therefore, Lu Mushing was even prepared to ask the Celestial Palace Patriarch of the Ruins of Immortality Chamber of Commerce to send the treasures across the void between realms. However, even though Lu Mushing's status in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins was extraordinary, he was not an ordinary person. However, it was not easy to get the old ancestor to take action. Among the 3 patriarchs of the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality, one traveled around all year round while the other cultivated in seclusion all year round. The other one was in charge of the Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins in another martial world. Therefore, Lu Mushing could only ask for the help of the Patriarch who was in seclusion. Chapter 24:11. What puzzled Lu Mushing was that, after the bidding for the Zimu cardamom began, everyone fell into a brief silence. Lu Mushing's heart sank. Needless to say, no one here had any living soil. Otherwise, under such temptation, no matter the reason, he would definitely take out the life soil. Although Lu Mushing was disappointed that he didn't have any living soil, he still hoped to take out other treasures that could sustain life or help grow immortal herbs. The Chamber of Immortal Ruins had many of these things. However, Lu Mushing had come in a hurry and hadn't prepared well enough, which led to the current situation. These are 10 fire thunder spheres. Each of them is equivalent to a full force attack from a level 1 yin-yang realm expert. Although the fire thunder spheres can't compare to the wooden cardamom, there are more of them. I wonder if we can exchange them for the wooden cardamom, a red-haired, middle-aged warrior said. Everyone was calm when they heard the fire thunder spheres. That was because the Fire Lightning Prince's request and Lu Mushing's request were worlds apart, completely incomparable. The fire thunder spheres are not bad, but they don't meet Elder Lu's requirements, Luo Hongying said as she shook her head. I have a 3rd-grade immortal flame, golden crow fire. Can I exchange it with Elder Lu? This is a top-grade heaven jade. Everyone who was interested in the wooden cardamom started bidding. However, among the treasures taken out by the crowd, there were some decent items. However, up until now, Lu Mushing had not taken a fancy to any of them. Not only that, but as more and more people took out their treasures, Lu Mushing's face turned bitter. This true soul-nourishing flower was most likely the last true soul-nourishing flower in the true martial realm. Lu Mushing didn't want such a treasure to go extinct. However, it seemed like it was too extravagant to obtain living soil in a remote place like the Ruins of Immortal. None of the treasures mentioned by the crowd had anything to do with life, let alone living soil. I have a gourd of living water here. I wonder if I can exchange it with Elder Lu, a warrior said just as Lu Mushing was about to give up. After hearing the words breath water, Lu Mushing's figure flickered and immediately appeared on the auction stage. A gourd of breath-generating water is not enough. If you have a cauldron of breath-generating water, you can take this wooden cardamom away. If you only have this gourd of breath water, I can also give you a mysterious enlightenment pill. Lu Mushing didn't waste any time and spoke directly after he appeared. Hearing Lu Mushing's words, the martial artist was overjoyed. The surrounding crowd also looked at the martial artist enviously. Something like the breath water was not considered very precious. In Langya World, there were many forests with dense immortal spirit chi, and there was a high chance of obtaining life breath water. However, it was easy to obtain breath water, but difficult to preserve. It needed to be stored in a special container, and the sealing talisman had to be changed regularly to seal the life force of the breath water. Because of this, there were no less than 100 people present who had come into contact with the living water. However, only one person had managed to preserve the living water. Soon, the cultivator passed his breath water to Lu Mushing through the transmission array. Lu Mushing waved his hand and handed a jade bottle to the cultivator. Inside the bottle was a mysterious opening pill. Chapter 24:12. Level 4 Mystical Enlightenment Pills corresponded to different breakthroughs. Low-grade pills could increase one's chances by 10%, while supreme-grade pills could increase it by 90%. It could be said that as long as one had a supreme-grade mystical enlightenment pill, breaking through to the yin-yang realm was practically a done deal. However, even though Lu Mushing was the only alchemy emperor in the Langya realm, he took out a high-grade mystical enlightenment pill instead of a supreme-grade one. However, even a high-grade mystical enlightenment pill was something that countless people envied. A high-grade mystical enlightenment pill had a 50% chance of breaking through to the yin-yang realm. This 50% did not mean that a martial artist would have a 50% chance of breaking through to the yin-yang realm after consuming a high-grade mystical enlightenment pill. Instead, it meant that the martial artist's chances of breaking through to the yin-yang realm would instantly increase by 50%. At this moment, many people were regretting that they did not bring a portion of life aura water with them. To preserve the life aura water, one had to spend some immortal crystals every month. However, compared to a high-grade mystical enlightenment pill, spending a few immortal crystals was nothing. One had to know that in an auction, a middle-grade mystical enlightenment pill could be sold for 10 million immortal crystals. Preserving a portion of life aura water was obviously not worth that many immortal crystals. Unfortunately, there was only one chance, and opportunities were only given to those who were prepared. Of course, this sentence was applicable to others, but when it came to Tang Ao, it didn't seem to be applicable. After some thought, Tang Ao separated a strand of his jade bone life soul and then integrated it into the soil in the chaotic hexagram mirror. The soil in the chaotic hexagram mirror was not ordinary soil, but soil that contained a strand of primal energy. Now that it was integrated with a strand of vitality, there was no problem growing ordinary immortal herbs. In fact, the soil in Tang Ao's hands was even better than the life aura water. However, this soil also had a flaw, and that was the constant loss of primal energy and vitality energy. After using it for about 10 days, this soil was no different from ordinary soil. After injecting the strand of vitality from the jade bone life soul, Tang Ao moved his mind and a jade box appeared in Tang Ao's hands. The moment Tang Ao took out the jade box, Lu Mushing immediately looked in Tang Ao's direction. Because in that instant, Lu Mushing felt a strong wave of vitality coming from Tang Ao. When he saw Lu Mushing looking at him, Tang Ao stood up and cupped his fists. Then, he said, "This is a special kind of soil that I found in a historical site. Although it's not living soil, its effects are comparable to it." As he spoke, Tang Ao placed the jade box on the platform. With a flash of white light, the jade box appeared in Lu Mushing's hand. After Lu Mushing received the jade box, his face lit up with joy. Even though Zhang Xian had no idea what kind of soil was in the jade box, the rich vitality within it was more than sufficient to prolong the life of the soul-nourishing true flower. Lu Mushing immediately opened it and saw the soil in the jade box glowing with a green light. After observing with his divine telekinesis for a moment, Lu Mushing was overjoyed. Just now, Tang Ao's words were obviously modest. This kind of soil was definitely stronger than the life soil. In fact, it was not just a little bit stronger. At the same time, Lu Mushing was a little confused. He realized that even with his knowledge, he could not tell what the soil in the jade box was. Chapter 24:13. Lu Mushing estimated that this box of soil could only be used for 5 days at most before it became useless, unless it was sealed in a restriction. However, this box of willow wood had suddenly sprouted. Clearly, it was to be used to cultivate the soul-nourishing true flower. How could it be sealed in a restriction? Do you still have more of this soil? Lu Mushing thought for a moment and suddenly looked up at Tang Ao. 1 box was not enough, but if he had 4 or more boxes, he could bring the soul-nourishing flower back to Langya Realm. After arriving at Langya Realm, with the endless treasures of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, it would be very easy to cultivate the soul-nourishing flower. But the biggest problem now was how to keep the soul-nourishing flower alive before returning to Langya Realm. I still have some, but I don't want the wood cardamom. I want to exchange it for some soul-nourishing beans. There were no soul-nourishing beans in the Immortal Ruins. Even the treasure tower did not have them. Therefore, if Tang Ao wanted soul-nourishing beans, he could only do it through the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Okay, 1 box of soil for 1 soul-nourishing bean. Lu Mushing was different from most alchemists. He had always done things quickly and decisively. After Tang Ao stated his conditions, Lu Mushing did not think much and immediately agreed to it. If you can exchange 1 box of soil for 3 soul-nourishing beans, I will do it now. This was the time to ask for a sky-high price, so Tang Ao would not be polite. Facing an expert like Lu Mushing, who was also the only alchemy emperor in Langya Realm, ordinary people would not dare to bargain, but Tang Ao was different. Tang Ao, who had the highest cultivation, had even seen experts at the Tao Master level. In terms of alchemy, Tang Ao's master, alchemy sage Green Rock, was considered the best alchemist in the true martial realm. For countless years, alchemists at the alchemy emperor level were rare, but there were still many. However, only Tang Ao's master, alchemy sage Green Rock, was known as the alchemy sage. It was unprecedented, and even if there were others in the future, it would not be easy. Okay. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Lu Mushing continued to agree. Seeing how straightforward Lu Mushing was, Tang Ao did not say anything else. He took out 9 jade boxes and teleported them to the auction stage. Including the jade boxes in Lu Mushing's hand, there were 10 in total. After Lu Mushing's soul remembrance swept through, a storage ring appeared in front of Tang Ao. Tang Ao searched with his soul remembrance and found that there were only 2 5th-rank items in the storage ring. One of them was a bag of soul-nurturing beans with a total of 30. The other item was a jade scroll. This jade scroll was obviously Lu Mushing's research on the soul cultivation bean. Seeing this, Tang Ao felt somewhat grateful. Because the soul-nourishing beans plant, the soul-nourishing flower, was completely extinct, countless people wanted to use the soul-nourishing bean to cultivate the soul-nourishing flower. But until now, no one had succeeded. Even so, the jade slip also recorded Lu Mushing's valuable experience. As a Tier 7 pill emperor, Lu Mushing's jade letter was extremely valuable. After receiving the 10 boxes of soil, Lu Mushing rolled up his sleeves and said, "Little girl from the Luo family, I'll give you this wooden cardamom." Chapter 24:14. Luo Hongying was flattered, while the crowd was envious. Most of them looked at Tang Ao strangely. No one expected that Tang Ao would dare to haggle with Lu Mushing. Furthermore, he even obtained 30 soul-nurturing beans from Lu Mushing. Although the soul-nurturing beans were not Zimu cardamom, there were many ways to refine it. As long as Tang Ao could hire a Grade 3 Immortal Alchemy Master, Tang Ao could obtain at least 20 Zimu cardamom. Many people secretly remembered Tang Ao's name. Although Tang Ao's status was not ordinary, he was able to sit on the 3rd floor. However, it should be possible for him to purchase a few soul-nurturing beans from Tang Ao. After the Zimu cardamom, one of the top 10 treasures of the Ruins of Immortality, was dealt with, the second auction item was taken out. It was a blue, transparent saber floating in the air. An old man with an unkempt beard and a fiery aura stood up abruptly when he saw the saber. Wow! Who is this? How could he purify 60% of the impurities in the pure gold sand? At this moment, the entire auction house was silent. Everyone's eyes were staring in shock at the skinny old man who had suddenly appeared on the auction stage. Everyone had sensed Lu Mushing's presence on the auction stage. However, when the skinny old man appeared on the auction stage, no one noticed how he got there. It was as if the skinny old man had appeared out of thin air on the auction stage. Many people were shocked when they thought about how he had appeared out of thin air. Teleportation. A Muddy Sky State expert. Lu Mushing greets Senior Yenshan. After a short period of silence, Lu Mushing, who had left earlier, returned. Lu Mushing felt very gloomy in his heart. He couldn't understand how an auction of this scale could attract experts of the chaotic heaven stage. Moreover, the person who had come was not an ordinary Muddy Sky State expert, but Yen Shan, who ranked 10th among the Langya World's Muddy Sky State experts. Yen Shan was not only a Muddy Sky State expert, but also a Grade 7 Immortal Weapon Emperor, which was equivalent to Lu Mushing. However, Yen Shan was an ancient member of the Yen clan, so he was much older than Lu Mushing. Ha ha, don't worry about me. Take care of the treasure you obtained. I will visit it in the future. Yen Shan laughed heartily and patted Lu Mushing's shoulder. Although Yen Shan had only patted him a few times, Lu Mushing's expression changed drastically. After Yen Shan patted him a few times, Lu Mushing felt his body lighten. The oppressive feeling that he had felt earlier also vanished at this moment. Resentful spirit. Others did not know what happened, but Tang Ao saw it clearly. It looked like Yen Shan had only lightly patted Lu Mushing's body a few times, but in reality, he had injected a pale golden flame into Lu Mushing's body. After that, a black shadow was forced out of Lu Mushing's body by Yen Shan. Yen Shan wanted to use a pale golden flame to burn the resentful soul, but the resentful soul instantly escaped. All of this sounded complicated, but it actually happened in the blink of an eye. Among the people present, apart from Yen Shan and Tang Ao, who were surprised, even Lu Mushing himself had no idea what had just happened. However, Lu Mushing knew that something must have happened to his body, and Yen Shan had helped him deal with it. Thank you, Senior Yen Shan. Lu Mushing cupped his fists and bowed. It was said that Yen Shan was the easiest person to get along with among the Langya World's Muddy Sky State experts. After Lu Mushing had left, Yen Shan carefully examined the crimson gold saber that Tang Ao had refined. Yen Shan tapped the crimson gold saber with his fingers as he examined it. A crisp sound came from the crimson gold saber. The more Yen Shan looked at it, the more satisfied he was. Logically speaking, it was not impossible for the crimson gold saber to be refined into a Grade 9 immortal artifact. However, the crimson gold saber was clearly only a Grade 4 immortal artifact. This meant that the blacksmith who refined the crimson gold sand was only a Grade 4 blacksmith. After looking at it carefully for a long time, Yen Shan said, "Little girl, how do you want to trade for this item? Don't ask for too high a price. If it's too high and this old man cannot afford it, then this old man will lose a lot of face today." Chapter 24:15. After Yen Shan asked Luo Hongying felt awkward. After thinking for a moment, Luo Hongying decided to ask Tang Ao. She wanted to see what treasure Tang Ao wanted to exchange for, because Tang Ao had refined this golden red saber. Previously, Tang Ao had entrusted the Ruins of Immortality auction with full authority, so the auction would naturally maximize the benefits of the golden red saber. Now that a powerhouse like Yen Shan had joined in, Luo Hongying was in a difficult position. In that case, Luo Hongying simply let Tang Ao choose. Tang Ao was sitting in the audience, thinking about how to use the soul-nourishing beans to cultivate the soul-nourishing true flower. Suddenly, the black gold identity card in his storage ring moved. Tang Ao was stunned, and immediately received Luo Hongying's sound transmission. It turned out that Luo Hongying was asking what he wanted to exchange for his golden red saber. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao immediately transmitted to Luo Hongying, "I only need immortal crystals, the more the better." In the eyes of others, the value of this level of treasure was immeasurable, and could only be exchanged for other things. However, Luo Hongying didn't expect that Tang Ao wanted immortal crystals at this time. The reason why Tang Ao wanted immortal crystals was because immortal crystals were cultivation resources, and immortal crystals were universal in the true martial domain. As long as you had immortal crystals, you could buy anything. Instead of exchanging for some useless things, it was better to exchange them for immortal crystals. However, Tang Ao didn't want low-grade immortal crystals. It would be best if it was middle-grade or high-grade immortal crystals, which was what Tang Ao wanted. Luo Hongying looked in Tang Ao's direction with some astonishment. Others didn't know who had put these treasures up for auction, but Luo Hongying knew. Luo Hongying couldn't imagine that Tang Ao would ask for immortal crystals when he had the opportunity to ask for immortal crystals. Although Yan Shan had said that, he was still a grade 7 immortal weapon emperor. He definitely had a lot of treasures on him. The warriors of the Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins did not lack immortal crystals during their cultivation, so in their opinion, immortal crystals could only be regarded as a lower middle resource. Truly good things could not be measured with immortal crystals, so they used the method of bartering. Therefore, Luo Hongying was very surprised that Tang Ao wanted to exchange for immortal crystals. However, Luo Hongying quickly said, "Senior Yan Shan, this crimson gold saber will not be exchanged for treasures. It will be auctioned using immortal crystals." In Luo Hongying's opinion, if she were Tang Ao, she would definitely give this crimson gold saber to Yan Shan. This was because Luo Hongying knew that other than this crimson gold saber, Tang Ao also had a crimson gold sword and a crimson gold spear. If he gave this scarlet gold saber to Yan Shan, he might not be able to gain Yan Shan's friendship, but he would definitely have a good impression of Tang Ao. In the true martial realm, Muddy Heaven realm experts had a lot of say. Yan Shan was even ranked among the top 10 experts in the Langya realm. Needless to say, as long as Yan Shan said the word, Tang Ao could immediately leave the Immortal Ruins and go to the Langya realm. However, these were only Luo Hongying's thoughts. She had no right to interfere with what Tang Ao wanted to do, nor did she want to. Use immortal crystals? Yan Shan had lived for a very long time. In the Langya realm, there were probably no more than a few warriors older than Yan Shan. Therefore, Yan Shan had experienced too many things. Even if Tang Ao made an excessive request, Yan Shan could accept it. However, Yan Shan had never expected that Tang Ao would actually use immortal crystals to auction such a top-notch treasure. Chapter 24:16. Yan Shan couldn't help but shake his head. Yan Shan didn't know that Tang Ao had consigned this scarlet gold saber for auction, but when Luo Hongying had sent a voice transmission to Tang Ao, she naturally couldn't hide it from a turbid Heaven Realm expert like Yan Shan. Yan Shan had an easygoing personality. Although he sighed inwardly, since Tang Ao wanted immortal crystals, Yan Shan could use immortal crystals to exchange with Tang Ao. Many people were moved when they heard that this treasure was being auctioned with immortal crystals. This kind of immortal weapon refined from scarlet gold sand had a very high affinity with immortal spiritual force. It could be used as a natal magic treasure to be nourished in one's body. Such a treasure was being auctioned with immortal crystals. Such a good thing might only happen a few times in one's life. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, many people wouldn't have believed that such a thing could actually happen to them. But what made everyone depressed was that Yan Shan, a top expert of the Langya realm, was actually here at this time. Be it in terms of wealth or strength, There weren't many cultivators in the Langya realm who were stronger than Yen Shan. Not to mention, this was a remote place like the ruins of immortality. At this moment, everyone could only hope that Yen Shan wouldn't be too unsightly. There were a total of 3 scarlet gold immortal weapons up for auction. Everyone hoped that Yen Shan would bid for 1 or 2 and stop, instead of all 3. There was a limited number of divine weapons in the world. Only a small number of divine weapons were born during the creation of the world. Moreover, these divine weapons were basically in the hands of top experts. It was basically impossible for ordinary cultivators to obtain a divine weapon. However, there were many immortal weapons. Apart from those that were born after the creation of the world, there were also immortal weapons refined by blacksmith. There was a huge difference between these immortal weapons. Take the 3 scarlet gold immortal weapons up for auction, for example. Although they were only grade 4 immortal weapons, their value was higher than grade 7 or even grade 8 immortal weapons. Generally speaking, as long as the affinity between an immortal weapon and the cultivator's immortal essence exceeded 60%, the immortal weapon could be stored in the spiritual sea to be nourished. Under the nourishment of the spiritual sea's Tao, the immortal weapon's power could constantly grow. However, most of the immortal equipment had less than 30% compatibility with a martial artist's immortal essence. This kind of immortal equipment was the most common. Apart from a few very high-grade immortal equipment, most of them were used by martial artists during their cultivation journey. The 3 scarlet gold immortal artifacts that were auctioned off in the ruins of immortality this time had a rare 70% affinity with the immortal core power in a martial artist's body. An immortal artifact of this level, after being nourished in the body for 10,000 years, would be comparable to a connate divine artifact in terms of power. And because it was connected to his own blood soul, it was more flexible and could be controlled as he wished. Yen Shan smiled nonchalantly and said, "Fine, since everyone is here to bid, let's follow the rules of the Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins." After saying that, Yen Shan's figure flickered and appeared on the first level of the audience seat. The 2 warriors beside Yen Shan were not used to it at this moment. They had not expected that the old man they had been chatting with was the famous grade 7 immortal weapon emperor of the Langya boundary, Emperor Yen Shan. However, this also made the 2 of them believe that Yen Shan was amiable and approachable. If Yen Shan hadn't been recognized just now, the 2 of them would never have thought that the person sitting here talking to them today was one of the top 10 experts of the Langya boundary. Chapter 24:17. Some celestial turbid realm experts could only teleport hundreds of meters away, while some martial artists could cross countless realms. Looking at Yen Shan's calm expression, one could tell that the spatial shift from before was nothing to Yen Shan. Tang Ao didn't dwell on this issue. He looked at Luo Hongying on the auction stage with anticipation. Although the Mountain of Immortal Ruins would take a 10% commission for the items auctioned in the Immortal Ruins, Tang Ao was still looking forward to seeing how many immortal crystals his 3 immortal artifacts could sell for. The grand competition of the Immortal Ruins would be held in 3 months. By then, Tang Ao would definitely be able to enter the Langya realm. Since he was going to the Langya realm, he couldn't be lacking in immortal crystals. On the auction stage, Luo Hongying smiled faintly and said softly, "The treasure for this auction is the crimson gold saber that you see." After being appraised by the appraisers of the Immortal Ruins, this crimson gold saber has a terrifying 70% affinity with immortal essence. A treasure of this level is rare even in the Langya realm, let alone the Immortal Ruins. According to the client's request, this crimson gold saber will be auctioned using immortal crystals. The rules remain the same. The highest bidder wins. The starting price of the crimson gold saber is 1,000 mid-grade immortal crystals. Each bid must be at least 10 mid-grade immortal crystals. The auction begins now. Everyone had different expressions when they heard the price. the martial artists of the immortal ruins were at a loss. They didn't have much of an idea about 1,000 mid-grade immortal crystals. After all, there were very few places in the immortal ruins that required immortal crystals. Due to the scarcity of immortal crystals, the martial artists of the immortal ruins used contribution points as currency. Even among the martial artists of the immortal ruins, only a few had seen mid-grade immortal crystals. Compared to the martial artists of the immortal ruins, the martial artists of the Langya realm had not only seen mid-grade immortal crystals, but many of them also had them. However, 1,000 mid-grade immortal crystals was still an astronomical figure for them. The people of the Wendao Academy also gaped. As students of the Wendao Academy, most of them came from cultivation families. But even for the descendants of these cultivation clans, not many of them could take out 1,000 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. The ratio of low-grade immortal crystals to mid-grade immortal crystals wasn't 1:10 or 1:100, but 1:10,000. A mid-grade immortal crystal was worth 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals. 1,000 mid-grade immortal crystals were equivalent to 100 million low-grade immortal crystals. This price was already shocking enough. However, the price varied from person to person. Many people felt that it was outrageously expensive, but a chaotic heaven stage expert like Yen Shan felt that it was cheap. Although the scarlet gold saber was only a grade 4 celestial artifact now, it would not remain a grade 4 celestial artifact forever. This scarlet gold saber had unlimited room for improvement. Yen Shan was a grade 7 immortal blacksmith emperor. Among the people present, there was no one who understood smithing better than Yen Shan. Even the current Tang Ao, who had inherited Yun Xiaoyao's craftsmanship, was still far from Yen Shan's level of attainment in craftsmanship. Yen Shan could already tell just now that Tang Ao's crimson gold saber used the cold ice purification method. Chapter 24:18. But now, Tang Ao had used some unknown method to remove more than 60% of the impurities in the pure gold sand with the cold ice refining method. Now the pure gold saber had become transparent. Yen Shan had only seen fairy weapons made from 60% purified pure gold sand in the realm of true force, the realm of heaven martial arts. However, that fairy weapon belonged to Tao Master Tianwu of the realm of heaven martial arts, and many craftsmen had died for it. Because this fairy weapon had been refined by using the life of a craftsman to extract the original aura of the divine weapon and purify it with the pure gold sand. As far as Yen Shan knew, 10 fairy weapon emperors of the realm of heaven martial arts had died in order to refine that fairy weapon. 2 innate divine weapons and 7 acquired divine weapons were damaged. Of course, after paying such a huge price, the crimson golden spear that was refined was also extraordinary. The pure gold spear was 90% purified, and it had been refined by the best craftsmen in the realm of heaven martial arts. It was a 9th-grade fairy weapon at the peak of the realm of heaven martial arts. It had been nourished by Tao Master Tianwu for many years, so its power must be much greater than ordinary innate divine weapons. Yen Shan estimated that Tao Master Tianwu's heavenly martial spear could rival some superb divine weapons. Of course, all weapon refiners abhorred such a divine weapon. Because Tao Master Tianwu had set this example, many strong craftsmen followed suit. Therefore, the number of craftsmen who had died for a pure gold fairy weapon was a large proportion of all craftsmen in the realm of true force. Later, the Craftsmen's Guild banned this kind of craftsman method. But even now, many people were still using this method to refine pure gold fairy weapons. Yen Shan's visit this time was peaceful and didn't attract any attention because he had come to kill people. Yen Shan thought that someone must have done something in the ruins of immortality if a pure gold fairy weapon of this level had appeared. However, to Yen Shan's surprise, the pure gold fairy weapon seemed to have been refined with the cold ice refining method. Although he didn't know the process, Yen Shan was sure that the pure gold spear in front of him wasn't refined with the original aura of an ordinary craftsman. 1,000 middle-grade fairy crystals. Even though an expert like Yen Shan was here, many people couldn't help but fight for such a treasure. After a short silence, a warrior on the third floor made a bid. This person felt very helpless. Originally, he was determined to obtain this celestial artifact. In the end, Yen Shan appeared out of nowhere. This meant that this celestial artifact most likely had nothing to do with him. Even so, he didn't want to give up the gold spear pure gold sword. Because he cultivated the Tao of the saber, this scarlet gold saber would be of great help to him. With the help of this scarlet gold saber, he would have a 10% chance of reaching the celestial body stage. Half-step chaotic heaven stage and true chaotic heaven stage seemed to be only half a step apart, but in reality, everyone understood that this half-step was like an insurmountable chasm. 1,100 intermediate-grade immortal crystals. Senior brother Yen Shan, my master wants this item. At this moment, a boy walked out from the array diagonally opposite Tang Ao. The boy was about 7 or 8 years old. He had a red mouth, white teeth, and a ruddy complexion. His hair was tied up in a Taoist bun, and he wore a fitting red Taoist robe. Chapter 24:19. Tang Ao did not know who this white crane boy was. Tang Ao only knew that this was the first time the boy had bid for an item since he came here. However, judging from the way the crowd looked at the boy, Tang Ao knew that he was no ordinary person. Moreover, when Tang Ao saw the boy, he noticed that even Yen Shan had a look of fear in his eyes. Despite his fear, Yen Shan did not back down. The golden crimson saber could be bought by anyone, but not by the white crane boy. There was a martial world around the Langya realm called the North Sea Realm. The realm lord of the North Sea Realm was North Sea Tao Master. Although he was known as a Tao Master, he was only a half-step Tao Master. The North Sea Realm and the Langya realm had been enemies for a long time. The golden crimson saber was from the ruins of immortality, which belonged to the Langya realm. Therefore, the treasures of the Langya realm could not be taken to the North Sea Realm. The master of the White Crane Boy was the North Sea Realm Lord. In the past, many experts of the Langya realm had been killed by the White Crane Boy in the battles between the Langya realm and the North Sea Realm. Now that the White Crane Boy had appeared, many people were nervous and filled with killing intent. If this was the Langya realm, the White Crane Boy would not be able to enter because of the defense formation. However, this was the ruins of immortality, far away from the defense formation of the Langya realm, so the White Crane Boy could come here. White Crane Boy, how dare you? Even if this is the ruins of immortality, it belongs to the Langya realm. Leave now, or don't blame us for being rude. Just then, a voice came from behind the auction stage. Tang Ao was very familiar with this voice. It was Lu Mushing. Lu Mushing was very depressed. He had finally obtained some vitality soil to nourish the soul cultivation flower, but the White Crane Boy from the North Sea Realm had appeared at the Ruins of Immortality auction. The Langya realm and the North Sea Realm had been enemies for a long time. Moreover, some important figures from the Chamber of Immortality had been killed by the White Crane Boy. If there were more top experts in the Ruins of Immortality auction, Lu Mushing would not have said anything and would have attacked directly. After Lu Mushing spoke, the rest of the experts on the third floor revealed their auras one after another, vaguely forming an encirclement around White Crane Boy. There was only one gap in the confinement array, which was deliberately left open by everyone. If the White Crane Boy were to escape in this direction, he would have to face Yen Shan. The White Crane Boy was infamous, and he himself was a chaotic heaven stage powerhouse. Even Yen Shan was not a match for the White Crane Boy. Therefore, if they could avoid fighting, there was basically no expert here who was willing to fight. Although the Langya realm had the advantage in numbers, they might not be able to keep their own lives. In previous battles between the Langya realm and the North Sea realm, Boy White Crane usually fought against 2 or even 3 turbid heaven stage experts of the Langya realm. Moreover, they were not ordinary turbid heaven stage cultivators. They were all top-notch experts of the Langya realm. "There's no need for all of this," he said. "Although it's presumptuous of me to come here, I'm only here to bid for a few items. I have no intention of harming a single blade of grass or tree in the ruins of immortality. As for what happened earlier, we have different standpoints, so hatred is unavoidable. How about this? Let's finish the auction first. Once the auction is over, no matter what everyone wants, I'll accept it." Chapter 24:20. However, Tang Ao did not dare to be careless in front of the White Crane Boy. Tang Ao sensed a sense of death from the White Crane Boy. When Tang Ao looked at the White Crane Boy, the White Crane Boy also looked at Tang Ao. There was even a hint of hesitation in the White Crane Boy's eyes when he looked at Tang Ao. Just like Yen Shan, the White Crane Boy also knew that the saber was put up for auction by Tang Ao. However, the White Crane Boy did not know what the relationship between Tang Ao and the saber was. The White Crane Boy did not know if the saber was refined by Tang Ao or if Tang Ao had obtained it somewhere. If the crimson gold saber was refined by Tang Ao, then it would be very easy to deal with him. At this moment, he could directly attack and take Tang Ao away. However, if the saber was obtained by Tang Ao in some relic, then it would be useless for him to take Tang Ao away. Of course, he also thought of taking the saber away. However, he was in the Immortal Ruins auction, and all the auction items were marked by the Chamber of Commerce's array. There was a 7th grade Immortal array in the hall of the Immortal Ruins auction. If the White Crane Boy had the saber with him, he would not be able to escape even if he used space shifting. Of course, without the saber, the White Crane Boy was confident that no one would be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. Even Yen Shan would not be able to stop him. The White Crane Boy could even slaughter all the martialists in the ruins of Immortal on his own if no turbid heaven experts rushed over from the Langya realm in time. "Everyone, let's do our best. The 2 patriarchs of the Chamber of Commerce and Senior Jiang Daolin are already rushing over to the Langya realm," said Lu Mushing as he waved his hand and scattered a handful of elixirs. This matter was of great importance. After receiving the news, the patriarchs of the Chamber of Commerce had to come out early even though they were in seclusion. It just so happened that a Grand Elder of the Ruins of Immortality Chamber of Commerce and Jiang Daolin, the 3rd strongest person in the Langya realm, had returned. Therefore, after learning that the White Crane Boy had appeared in the ruins of immortality, the 3 Muddy Heaven Realm experts instantly tore open a spatial boundary and came here. However, the ruins of immortality was quite a distance away from the Langya realm. Even if the 3 Chaotic Heaven Realm experts were to travel together, it would still take some time for them to arrive at the ruins of immortality. Of course, this was because the ruins of immortality did not have a top-notch teleportation array. Otherwise, the 3 of them would have arrived at the ruins of immortality in no time. After Lu Mushing attacked, Tang Ao instantly retreated at top speed. This was because Tang Ao saw a hint of hesitation in the White Crane Boy's eyes when he looked at him. Although Tang Ao didn't know what the White Crane Boy was hesitating about, Tang Ao knew that it was definitely nothing good. When Tang Ao retreated, a ball of monstrous flaming fist flew towards the White Crane Boy. This blazing fist was naturally Yen Shan's attack. Seeing Lu Mushing and Yen Shan's attack, the surrounding Yin-Yang Realm experts and a few half-step Chaotic Heaven Realm experts also made their move. The White Crane Boy's cultivation was too strong. If they couldn't take him down while everyone was working together, the consequences would be unimaginable. After everyone attacked together, the spiritual energy in the entire ruins of immortality raged and various terrifying spells exploded. The Grade 7 celestial array in the auction hall quickly collapsed. Chapter 24-21. Before the vines could get close to the child white crane, they were all severed by the white light. At that moment, Yen Shan's flaming fist approached the child white crane instantly. However, the child white crane did not have to give in to Yen Shan's overbearing punch. He raised his right hand and slapped out. Immediately, a terrifying blast of air swept out from the point of contact, and the entire auction hall was instantly reduced to ruins. Many martial artists with weaker cultivations were instantly killed by the terrifying spiritual pressure. Even more warriors were severely injured. At that moment, Tang Ao saw the child white crane's body shake and immediately disappear on the spot. When he reappeared, the child white crane had already crushed the throat of a Yin-Yang Realm Level 9 warrior. Oh no! Tang Ao was shocked when he saw that. This was because Jin Wanchuan was not far away from the Yin-Yang Realm Level 9 warrior. Jin Wanchuan had also participated in the battle just now. Pfft! Just as this thought flashed through Tang Ao's mind, Jin Wanchuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was mixed with many pieces of internal organs. There was a huge bloody hole in Jin Wanchuan's stomach. This bloody hole had been pierced by the child white crane's horsetail whisk when it flew past. With such injuries, even Tang Ao would not be able to save him. At the last moment of his life, Jin Wanchuan's eyes revealed a look of exhaustion. Apart from exhaustion, there was also a yearning for life. However, Jin Wanchuan only felt that his consciousness was about to dissipate very soon. It was obvious that he could not survive in such a state. Run! Jin Wanchuan said calmly as he looked at Jin Chen, who was rushing towards him. Father! Jin Chen roared and the seal on the demon-breaking saber was released. Without any hesitation, Jin Chen swung his saber at the child white crane. The child white crane sneered when he saw Jin Chen's saber coming towards him. Then, he raised his hand and slapped out. According to the child white crane's original plan, Jin Chen's saber would immediately be shattered by his slap. After shattering the saber, the child white crane's palm technique would not reduce and he would be able to kill Jin Chen easily. However, what the white crane boy didn't expect was that after he struck out with his palm, Jin Chen's demon-slaying saber actually released a mysterious aura of the Great Path. Under this aura, the immortal essence in the white crane boy's hand was instantly broken. The moment his immortal essence broke through, child white crane was alarmed. Although the child white crane managed to dodge in time, he was still a moment too slow. A rain of blood bloomed on boy white crane's right shoulder. This was the first time boy white crane had been injured in the battle. Younger brother Chen, quickly move aside. Tang Ao cried out explosively when he saw that Jin Chen was about to attack. He immediately took out the Origin's sacred heavenly bow. At this moment, Jin Chen's second saber slashed towards White Crane Boy. After suffering a huge loss at Jin Chen's hands, White Crane Boy already regarded Jin Chen as a dead man. Now that Jin Chen still dared to come up, the White Crane Boy did not hesitate and directly swept the horsetail whisk in his hand towards Jin Chen. When Jin Chen saw boy White Crane's horsetail whisk flying towards him, he suddenly slashed at the horsetail whisk with his saber. However, the horsetail whisk was strange and unpredictable. Under Jin Chen's attack, it turned into countless thin threads and avoided Jin Chen's saber radiance. Then, without any delay, these thin threads suddenly condensed and turned into long spears that pierced towards Jin Chen. Chapter 24-22. Pucci. Jin Chen spurted out a mouthful of blood. The boundless power within his body seemed to have been sucked dry. The scenery around him quickly blurred. Jin Chen wanted to turn around to take a look, but his vision darkened and he fainted. Seeing a long spear piercing through Jin Chen's heart, Tang Ao thought that Jin Chen was dead for sure. However, when Tang Ao took a closer look, he realized that Jin Chen's vitality had been greatly injured, and he had not died immediately. Furthermore, there were ancient and mysterious runes floating out from Jin Chen's heart. Jin Chen's shattered heart was also rapidly healing. After a while, Jin Chen's wound had already healed to this extent, but he still had not woken up. Many people had seen Jin Chen being severely injured by the White Crane Boy, but they were not in the mood to think about it. Everyone was thinking about how to kill this White Crane Boy. However, it would be wishful thinking for the warriors here to kill the White Crane Boy. Under the White Crane Boy's attacks, warriors from the ruins of immortality and the true martial realm continued to die. However, up until now, the White Crane Boy had only been injured by Jin Chen's sneak attack due to his carelessness. At this moment, the White Crane Boy's figure disappeared again. Seeing the White Crane Boy's figure disappear, Tang Ao had a bad feeling. This White Crane Boy was clearly vengeful. Just now, Tang Ao had used the primordial sacred sky bow to help Jin Chen, and the White Crane Boy had clearly seen it. As Tang Ao's figure retreated, the White Crane Boy's figure instantly appeared in front of Tang Ao. Without any hesitation, Tang Ao subconsciously took out the Shenong cauldron to block in front of him. Dang! A metal clashing sound was heard, and the Shenong cauldron was immediately blown back by the White Crane Boy's horsetail whisk. The Shenong cauldron instantly turned red on Tang Ao's body. The Battle Saint Bone Life spirit that Tang Ao had summoned did not even last for a few breaths of time before it was smashed. Then, Tang Ao spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his entire body was blown away. The gap between astral reaching realm and chaotic sky realm was like a natural chasm, immeasurable. Even the White Crane Boy's casual attack was not completely blocked by Tang Ao, who had used all his trump cards. After seeing that his move did not kill Tang Ao, a trace of doubt flashed in the eyes of the White Crane Boy. White Crane Boy's figure flashed again, and he immediately chased after Tang Ao. At this moment, Tang Ao couldn't even stabilize his body, let alone dodge. At this moment, Tang Ao only had two choices. He could either hide in the chaotic hexagram mirror and avoid this deadly attack, or he could crush the space-breaking spell and leave this place. However, under the restraints of the White Crane Boy's aura, it was very difficult for Tang Ao to crush the teleportation jade talisman. It was as if what Tang Ao wanted to crush was not a teleportation jade talisman, but an indestructible mountain. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Tang Ao. Its speed was even faster than Yen Shan and the others. At first, Tang Ao looked happy. With this kind of speed, the Langya Realm's experts must have arrived. However, when he saw that it was Su Shiro in front of him, Tang Ao's expression changed drastically. He didn't even have time to warn her. The horsetail whisk in the White Crane Boy's hand fiercely smashed onto Su Shiro's body. A cracking sound was heard, and the Heavenly Law Talisman's protective light layer was immediately shattered. The remaining power of the White Crane Boy's palm attack landed on Su Shiro's body. Su Shiro's bones were instantly shattered, and her whole body immediately went limp, barely breathing. Chapter 24-23. Even Tang Ao's bones had been cracked a bit, but it was far less serious than Su Shiro's. Moreover, because of the Jade Bone Life Spirit, Tang Ao's injuries were also recovering rapidly. However, the White Crane Boy clearly did not want to let Tang Ao go. Seeing that he had failed to kill Tang Ao after trying to kill Tang Ao twice, the White Crane Boy's face turned cold. In this place, the White Crane Boy could kill 90% of the Yin-Yang realm experts like slaughtering pigs and dogs. However, right now, he was trying to kill Tang Ao, a mere astral-reaching ant. This time, the White Crane Boy directly performed a spell. Immediately, Tang Ao was shocked to see a vertical pupil appear between the White Crane Boy's eyebrows. Then, a white crane shadow flew out of the vertical pupil, heading straight for Tang Ao. Tang Ao had a feeling that he could not even touch this white crane shadow. Otherwise, he would definitely be in a life-or-death situation. However, this white crane shadow was too fast, and Tang Ao's injuries were too severe. There was no way for him to dodge. Although Tang Ao knew that exposing the chaotic 6-light mirror in this kind of situation was absolutely suicidal, at the moment of life and death, Tang Ao had no other choice. White crane, don't be arrogant. Right at this moment, a violent sound that surpassed the heavenly thunder resounded throughout the entire immortal ruins. Countless thunder and lightning appeared in the sky above the immortal ruins, as if wanting to shatter the whole place. At this moment, 3 figures broke through the void and descended. One of them was surrounded by countless thunder and lightning. He raised his hand and punched out. The white crane shadow that the white crane boy had thrown at Tang Ao was immediately shattered by this horrifying thunder fist. 1 inch in front of Tang Ao, there were even countless thunder and lightning threads. These thunder and lightning threads actually tore the space apart. Tang Ao could vaguely see the void of the boundary. Although the lightning threads were terrifying, Tang Ao wasn't affected in the slightest. Clearly, the silver-haired old man's control over his power had reached a level where he could control it as he pleased. Although Tang Ao felt dizzy, he still cupped his fists at Lei Wuti. However, Lei Wuti only glanced at Tang Ao before charging at Bai He. It was as if saving Tang Ao was a trivial matter. Tang Ao also knew that Lei Wuti had saved him without much trouble. After Lei Wuti appeared, he could have attacked Boy White Crane immediately. However, Lei Wuti still casually punched out and shattered Boy White Crane's white crane shadow. Lei Wuti had only lifted a finger, but he had saved Tang Ao's life. Lei Wuti was the strongest of the 3 patriarchs of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. He traveled the world all year round and fought with all kinds of experts, so his combat strength was even more terrifying. The reason why Lei Wuti had saved Tang Ao, aside from the spur-of-the-moment reason, was because he had seen the black gold token on Tang Ao's waist. The black gold identity token of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins would definitely support the chamber greatly. Since that was the case, saving Tang Ao wasn't a big deal. Lei Wuti had also come with a handsome young man and a beautiful middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman glanced at the bottom of the Ruins of Immortality auction, and her eyes suddenly lit up with joy. Then, Tang Ao saw the middle-aged woman fly towards his Shinnon cauldron. Tang Ao raised his hand to retrieve the Shinnon cauldron. However, Tang Ao realized that the Shinnon cauldron had been seriously damaged after blocking Boy White Crane's attack. It couldn't be retrieved now. The middle-aged woman seemed to recognize the Shinnon cauldron. Without any hesitation, she used a technique to temporarily cut off the connection between Tang Ao and the Shinnon cauldron. Then, under Tang Ao's watchful gaze, she put the Shinnon cauldron away. Chapter 24-24. Under the joint attack of Yan Shan, Lu Mushing, and Lei Wuti, the White Crane boy managed to escape unscathed after snatching the crimson gold saber. It wasn't hard to see how strong the White Crane boy was. In the ruins on the side, Tang Ao was gasping for breath. The Shinnon cauldron had been forcefully taken away by that woman. It wouldn't be easy for Tang Ao to take it back now. Even so, after using the Jade Bone Life Soul to regulate his breathing, Tang Ao still stood up and said to the woman in green in the distance, "Senior, the medicine cauldron you just accepted was used by this junior to refine medicine. Please return it." Tang Ao was furious. If it wasn't for the huge difference in strength between him and the other party, he wouldn't even need to say anything. Someone else had stolen his things, yet he still had to stick his face to it. How could there be such a logic in this world? If Tang Ao was also at the Celestial Turbid Realm, Tang Ao could directly take the Shinnon cauldron back. Tang Ao didn't believe that the woman in azure couldn't see the connection between him and the Shinnon cauldron. When the woman in azure put away the Shinnon cauldron, Tang Ao clearly sensed that the woman looked in his direction. "I know. I'm interested in this cauldron. There are some cultivation resources here. Take it as an exchange. Also, this is your cultivation partner, right? She was poisoned by the white crane needles. Only the azure lotus jade essence can neutralize this poison. If there's no azure lotus jade essence within 2 hours, I'm afraid the situation won't be good. After hearing Lu Qinghe's words, Tang Ao's body shook. The azure lotus jade essence was a very rare 9th-grade immortal material. This immortal material itself was a very powerful detoxification pill. As for the storage ring that Lu Qinghe threw over, Tang Ao had no intention of taking it. No matter what was in Lu Qinghe's storage ring, it couldn't compare to the value of the Shenong cauldron. Pill St. Greenrock had said that the Shenong cauldron was the supreme treasure for refining pills and the primordial chaos cauldron was the supreme treasure for refining tools. These two treasures were originally with Tang Ao, but now it seemed that he wouldn't be able to get the Shenong cauldron back anytime soon. As for Lu Qinghe's words, Tang Ao also had a trace of doubt in his heart. Although Su Shiro was seriously injured, Tang Ao believed that under the protection of the heavenly law talisman, Su Shiro would not be hurt at all. Thinking of this, Tang Ao's soul remembrance probed Su Shiro's body. Then, Tang Ao realized that Su Shiro was in a terrible state, just as Lu Qinghe had said. Under the protection of the heavenly Tao talisman, his foundation was not harmed. However, Su Shiro's body was filled with a greenish-gray aura. It was a type of poison. Even with Tang Ao's jade bone life spirit, he couldn't immediately neutralize the poison. After Tang Ao gave it a try, Tang Ao discovered in despair that not only was the jade bone life soul unable to resolve the poison, but the recovery speed of the jade bone life soul couldn't even keep up with the rate at which the grayish-white aura destroyed Su Shiro's body. If this continued, Su Shiro would definitely be corroded to death by the grayish-white aura in 2 hours. Thinking of this, Tang Ao became anxious. At the same time, he quickly thought of a replacement for the azure lotus jade essence. In Pill St. Greenrock's records, the azure lotus jade essence was a very rare treasure. In a moment, Tang Ao knew that he definitely couldn't find the azure lotus jade essence. Chapter 24-25. How could this be? Tang Ao murmured in despair. But soon, Tang Ao seemed to have thought of something. Tang Ao stood up shakily and walked to Lu Mushing's side. After cupping his fists at Lu Mushing, Tang Ao asked anxiously, "Senior Lu, does the Chamber of Immortal Ruins have azure lotus jade essence, or something that can replace it?" Hearing Tang Ao's words, Lu Mushing was shocked. He asked in surprise, "You were hit by the white crane needles?" No, after being hit by the white crane needles, even a celestial body stage expert will be extremely weak and will even fall into a coma. Then Lu Mushing looked at Su Shiro and suddenly understood something. Lu Mushing thought for a moment and said, "Azure Lotus Jade Essence is too rare. Our Chamber of Immortal Ruins has a piece of Azure Lotus Jade Essence, but it was bought by Lord Tianwu of the Realm of Heaven Martial Arts. Now, there is no Azure Lotus Jade Essence in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. However, there is a longevity vine in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins in the desolate martial realm. Although the longevity vine can't be used to refine Azure Lotus Jade Essence pills, it is still a treasure that can cure poisons. Senior, please sell this longevity vine to Junior." Tang Ao was overjoyed and he quickly said with a pleading tone. Lu Mushing was right. Among the few treasures that could replace Azure Lotus Jade Essence, the longevity vine was one of them. However, the longevity vine was no less rare than Azure Lotus Jade Essence. To some extent, it was harder to preserve than Azure Lotus Jade Essence. Therefore, the longevity vine was even more precious than Azure Lotus Jade Essence. However, at this moment, Tang Ao didn't care about the value of the longevity vine. As long as he could get this longevity vine, no matter what price Tang Ao had to pay, Tang Ao was willing to pay. Tang Ao and Su Shiro didn't have any special feelings for each other. But Tang Ao knew that he had been cultivating all his life. He couldn't let the woman who had saved him die in front of him. Seeing the sincerity in Tang Ao's eyes, Lu Mushing pondered. The longevity vine might be extremely important to Tang Ao, but it wasn't that important to the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Apart from the rarity of the longevity vines, the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality only treated them as a collector's item. Therefore, as long as there were enough profits, the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality would sell the longevity vine at any time. Talents and treasures were valuable to the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Lu Mushing did not think that Tang Ao had any treasures on him that were as valuable as the longevity vine. However, in Lu Mushing's opinion, Tang Ao was a genius with great potential for becoming a Grade 3 alchemy master within 1,000 years. However, it was impossible for the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality to give the longevity vine to Tang Ao. Although there were not many Grade 3 alchemy masters within 1,000 years of age, the Chamber of Immortal Ruins had managed to find 4 of them over the years. Even if these 4 people wanted to apply for the longevity vine, it wouldn't be very likely. Moreover, these 4 people had made significant contributions to the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Even if Tang Ao joined the Chamber of Immortal Ruins now, he would only be able to enjoy the same treatment as these 4 people. If Tang Ao wanted to get the longevity vine, Tang Ao would have to display greater potential. After some careful consideration, Lu Mushing looked at Tang Ao and asked, "Did you refine the crimson gold saber?" Chapter 24-26. What proof do you have? Although Lu Mushing had guessed that the crimson gold saber was most likely refined by Tang Ao, Lu Mushing still wanted Tang Ao to prove it after Tang Ao admitted it himself. This was his responsibility to Tang Ao, as well as the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. With Lu Mushing's authority as the Supreme Elder, it was not impossible for him to give the longevity vine to Tang Ao, but he needed a reasonable reason and equivalent benefits. At the end of the day, the Chamber of Immortal Ruins was still a group of businessmen. Businessmen naturally valued benefits the most. If Tang Ao could bring enough benefits to the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, the Chamber of Immortal Ruins would naturally provide some convenience for Tang Ao. Just like now, the Chamber of Immortal Ruins could give the longevity vine to Tang Ao. I can start refining right now, but my junior sister is in danger. I hope that Elder Lu can arrange for someone to send the longevity vine over while I'm refining. Tang Ao's words were very sincere. At this time, the longevity vine could be said to be Su Shiro's only hope. Moreover, it could not be dragged on for too long. Otherwise, after 2 hours, even the longevity vine or the green lotus chalcedony would not be able to save her. All right, I'll believe you for now. After Lu Mushing finished speaking, he waved his hand and a golden scroll appeared in front of Tang Ao. There was a palm mark on the golden scroll. This is the Blood Soul Contract scroll of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. After signing the scroll, I can make the decision to give the longevity vine to you. What do you think? Tang Ao took a deep breath and immediately checked the scroll. Although Tang Ao knew that he had no room to bargain at this time, Tang Ao still had to take a look at it. Even if there was something unfavorable on the scroll, Tang Ao could prepare in advance in the future. After a quick look, Tang Ao found that this scroll was the most difficult for him to accept or the most unfavorable condition for him. Firstly, after signing the Blood Soul Contract, he would have to serve the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality for 5,000 years. 5,000 years wasn't much for a turbid heaven stage cultivator, but Tang Ao still felt that it was too long. After signing the contract, Tang Ao would have 5,000 years to do as the Chamber of Commerce of the Ruins of Immortality wanted. Although this was hard to accept, Tang Ao did not feel too conflicted. What really troubled Tang Ao was the second and third point. The second point was that while Tang Ao was in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins, he had to teach the method of refining the crimson gold saber to 10 blacksmiths and teach them. Of course, it wouldn't be a problem if it was just imparting the method of smithing. Although the improved ice purification method was Tang Ao's original refining method, it was not a big deal to use it to save Sushiro. However, it wasn't that easy to teach others. In other words, Tang Ao's ice purification method was created for Tang Ao alone. This was because the ice purification method required extremely fine control over the internal changes of the immortal material. To achieve this level, the requirement for soul remembrance had reached an unimaginable level. The reason why Tang Ao could do it was because Tang Ao's 9 Dragons Emperor Jade body had a soul sea. However, Tang Ao didn't think that the 10 blacksmiths in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins also had the 9 Dragons Emperor Jade body. As for the third point, which Tang Ao found hard to accept, it was that Tang Ao had to do 100 irresistible things for the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. Although these things wouldn't endanger his life, they wouldn't be simple. Chapter 24-27. At this point, Tang Ao's tone changed. Additionally, after my ice purification technique was modified, it has very high requirements for soul remembrance. Unless one's psyche reaches a certain standard, ordinary refiners won't be able to use it. As for the last condition, I hope there are only 3 irresistible conditions, not 100. Although Lu Mushing had already planned to discuss it with Tang Ao, he was still a little unhappy when he heard Tang Ao's words. These 3 conditions were the most important in the contract. But now, Tang Ao had actually changed all 3 of them. However, he recalled that Tang Ao had become a 3rd-grade alchemist and 4th-grade immortal weapon master within 1,000 years. His potential was limitless. Moreover, it was very likely that Tang Ao didn't know much about the Chamber of Commerce at the moment, which was why he said that. When Tang Ao knew more about the Chamber of Commerce in the future, he might not want to leave the Chamber of Commerce anymore. Lu Mushing hesitated for a moment before saying, "How about this? I can agree to the first condition now. As for the other 2 conditions, we can discuss them after you save this lady. How about that?" Tang Ao sighed in his heart. Tang Ao knew that this was the biggest concession Lu Mushing could make. If they continued to discuss it now, they probably wouldn't get any results. Most importantly, Sushiro didn't have much time left. Thinking to this point, Tang Ao nodded his head. He then forced out a drop of blood essence, which floated in his palm. He placed his handprint on the golden scroll floating in front of him. After Tang Ao imprinted his handprint, a golden light entered Tang Ao's body. Tang Ao knew that the golden light was a formation. The formation's function was very simple, which was to find his location. Tang Ao knew that there must be a surveillance formation in the Chamber of Immortal Ruins headquarters. Through this surveillance formation, the chamber could detect Tang Ao's location at any time. Langya Realm, Chamber of Immortal Ruins Headquarters. The headquarters of the Chamber of Commerce in the Ruins of Immortality was not in the central region, which was the most prosperous region in the Langya Realm. Instead, it was in the barren western region. More than 90% of the martial practitioners in the entire Langya world were gathered in the eastern, southern, central, and northern regions. In other words, in the vast Langya realm, less than 10% of the martial artists were in the western region. The immortal ruined city of the Chamber of Commerce was the largest city in the western region of the Langya realm. The city of the immortal ruin was just a general name. In fact, the city of the immortal ruin was divided into 4 major cities: north, south, east, and west. All the shops in the 4 cities of the ruins of immortality belonged to the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, the 4 cities of the ruins of immortality were even more prosperous than the Langya realm lord's Langya city. In the center of the 4 cities of the ruins of immortality, there was a floating space tower. The floating space tower had a total of 9 floors. It was the residence of the supreme elders, branch chiefs, and patriarchs of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. The treasures collected by the Chamber of Commerce in the ruins of immortality for tens of thousands of years were also stored in this place. Although a branch president like Luo Hongying was qualified to enter the Tower of the Immortal Ruins, she could only enter the first level. Even a supreme elder like Lu Mushing could only go up to the 7th floor. The 8th floor was used by the president of the Chamber of Immortal Ruins. The entire 8th floor of the Tower of the Ruins of Immortality served the successive presidents of the Chamber of Immortality. As for the 9th floor, it was the residence of the 3 patriarchs of the Chamber of Immortality. At the same time, the treasures of the Chamber of Immortality were gathered on this floor. Chapter 24-28. Although it was rumored that the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce only had 3 chaotic Heaven Realm experts, no one knew what the actual situation was. No one knew whether the 5 honorary elders of the Chamber of Immortality were at the peak of the Yin-Yang stage or the early chaotic sky stage. At this moment, on the 8th floor of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, the current president, Shen Yunqing, frowned slightly. Shen Yunqing was an extremely beautiful woman. Even though she was frowning slightly, it didn't affect her peerless beauty in the slightest. Behind Shen Yunqing, there was a formation overflowing with golden light. There were 100 light spots on the array formation. However, at this moment, some of the light spots were already lit up, while some of the light spots were dim. Every time she saw those dim light spots, a trace of exhaustion flashed through Shen Yunqing's eyes. The Heavenly Law Summit, which was held once every 10,000 years, would be held in another 1,000 years. Under the efforts of several presidents of the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce had obtained the qualification to participate, which even the Langya realm didn't have. This was something that made the entire Chamber of Commerce extremely excited. However, what gave Shen Yunqing a headache was that she still hadn't found enough candidates to participate in the competition. The Heavenly Law Summit was a gathering of the geniuses of the true martial realm that was jointly held by the top 100 forces. The Heavenly Law Summit was held in an ancient ruin, the Heavenly Law Mountain, which had been formed at an unknown time. There were countless opportunities in the Heavenly Law Mountain, and there was even a legendary Divine King Dao fruit that could allow a Dao Master to become a Divine King. However, no one had obtained a Divine King Dao fruit so far, but there were many Dao fruits that could allow a chaotic Heaven Realm expert to become a Dao Master. The Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce had 100 participants, but so far, it had only found 49 people, not even half of the quota. Of course, if the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce lowered its requirements, finding 100 people wouldn't be a problem at all. However, it was better to have nothing than to have something shoddy. It was impossible to lower the requirement. At this moment, a dim spot of light suddenly lit up. Seeing this, Shen Yunqing was overjoyed and immediately scanned it with her soul remembrance. Tang Ao, the next warrior, has been in the eastern immortal ruins of the Langya realm for 2 years. Cultivation, 2nd level astral reaching realm. Within 1,000 years, 3rd level immortal pill master and 4th level blacksmith. Can remove 60% of the impurities in the pure gold sand and refine an immortal weapon such as the pure gold saber. Potential level, above average. Recommended by Lu Mushing. Shen Yunqing did not really care that Tang Ao was a grade 3 alchemy master and a grade 4 immortal weapon master. What interested Shen Yunqing was that Tang Ao was actually able to remove 60% of the impurities in the pure gold sand. This was simply unheard of. Shen Yunqing did not doubt the information in the array at all. If the information was not accurate, Tang Ao's information would not have appeared in this array. After finding another genius participating in the Heavenly Dao Summit, Shen Yunqing's mood finally improved a little. At this moment, another piece of news came. After Shen Yunqing saw this news, a playful smile appeared on her pretty face. She then said, "We still don't know how strong this person is, but he has a lot of requests. Forget it. It is just a longevity vine. I will just give it to him." After saying that, Shen Yunqing picked up his identity token and drew it on the magic array. Chapter 24-29. Thank you, Senior. Is there no way to send the longevity vine through the teleportation formation? Tang Ao had never left the immortal ruins, but Tang Ao knew that the distance between these martial worlds was very far. It was inevitable that something unexpected would happen on the way. In this way, it would be much safer to use the teleportation formation. Most importantly, it would save a lot of time. It's easier said than done. The rules of the desolate martial realm are special. It's impossible to set up a teleportation formation in the desolate martial realm, and experts at the celestial turbid realm can't enter the desolate martial realm. Now there is a void warship heading to the desolate martial realm. Get ready and go. After you're done, you can take the void warship back to Langya realm. After the incident with the white crane boy in the immortal ruins, Lu Mushing was very upset and didn't want to say more. After Lu Mushing left, Lu Qinghe walked towards Tang Ao and spoke. Here are 3 Azure Yuan Dawn and 1 Essence Building Pill. The Essence Building Pill can protect her foundation from any damage. You already know the effect of the Azure Yuan Dan. Although it only takes 30 days to get from the immortal ruins to the desolate martial realm, that's under normal circumstances. Usually, it takes 40 to 50 days to get from the immortal ruins to the desolate martial realm. After saying this, Lu Qinghe added, "Don't worry, I won't take the cauldron from you. I'm just borrowing it for a while. In the future, when you go to Langya realm, you can come to the Green Lotus Palace in the Eastern Domain to find me at any time." Lu Qinghe spoke calmly, but she was very anxious. Originally, Lu Qinghe thought that she had Tang Ao in the bag. But what she didn't expect was that Tang Ao had signed a blood-soul contract with the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. In this way, Tang Ao was no longer alone. Behind Tang Ao was the huge Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce. Once Tang Ao used the Immortal Ruins Chamber of Commerce to force her, she really didn't dare to take the Shenong Cauldron away today. Previously, Lu Qinghe wanted to take the Shenong Cauldron for herself, but now, she really just wanted to borrow it for a while. However, Lu Qinghe didn't know if Tang Ao would agree. After seeing the Qingyuan pill that Lu Qinghe handed over, Tang Ao was overjoyed. Originally, Tang Ao felt that it was inappropriate because Lu Mushing had only given him 3 Qingyuan pills. Tang Ao also realized that if anything happened along the way and the Void Warship did not arrive on time, Su Shiro would be in danger. With the 3 Qingyuan pills from Lu Qinghe, Tang Ao heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that Tang Ao did not speak, Lu Qinghe immediately said, "Don't think that it's easy to get the Azure Essence Elixir. This time, I joined hands with Invincible Lei and Jiang Daolin to explore an ancient ruin and obtained a total of 9 Azure Essence Elixirs. The 3 you have on you belong to Invincible Lei. Otherwise, even in Langya World, it wouldn't be easy for you to get a green essence pill. Thank you. I hope you will keep your promise when I return to Langya World." In the end, Tang Ao gave up on the idea of asking for the Shenong Cauldron because Tang Ao really needed Lu Qinghe's elixirs. As the saying went, one's hands were tied. After accepting Lu Qinghe's elixirs, Tang Ao was too embarrassed to continue asking for the Shenong Cauldron. Moreover, Lu Qinghe had made it very clear that as long as he went to Langya World, he could go to the Green Lotus Palace in the eastern region to ask her for the Shenong Cauldron. Chapter 24-30. Jin Chen wanted to say something, but Tang Ao stopped him. "Brother Chen, White Crane Boy was the one who caused all this. I'm going to take Shiro to the desolate martial realm to get the longevity vine. You should cultivate well in the immortal ruins. After the grand competition of the immortal ruins ends in 3 months, wait for me in the Langya realm's east domain. If possible, find a way to join the Tao Seeking Academy. Although the Tao Seeking Academy had people like Song Dongkuan, Tang Ao felt that joining the Tao Seeking Academy might be a good choice for Jin Chun. Cultivate well. When you and I break through to the celestial turbid realm, we'll go to the North Sea realm together and avenge Uncle. After saying that, Tang Ao didn't dare to delay any longer. He immediately carried Su Shiro and flew in the direction of the Void battleship. After Tang Ao fed Su Shiro a Qingyuan pill, the grayish-white aura in her body was indeed suppressed. Tang Ao also tried the Jade Bone Life Soul, but Tang Ao still found that even under such circumstances, the Jade Bone Life Soul still couldn't do anything to the grayish-white aura. The aura was a poison refined from some evil creature, but it was very difficult to deal with. At the moment, what Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Soul could do was continuously replenish the fake Su Shiro's life force. However, as long as the evil poison wasn't completely resolved, Su Shiro would never wake up. This was the first time Tang Ao had seen a void battleship. Although Tang Ao had taken out many amazing flying spirit ships back in the Black-Yellow continent, Tang Ao found that the spirit ships he had taken out before were like dwarves looking up at giants. After comparing them, Tang Ao realized that the spirit ships he had taken out before were like dwarves looking up at giants in front of the Void battleship. The Void battleship docked next to the immortal ruins was tens of thousands of meters long. The Void battleship was divided into a total of 5 floors. What Tang Ao hadn't expected was that from top to bottom, the first to the 4th floor seemed to be occupied. Of course, there were people on the 5th floor as well. Moreover, most of the warriors who had participated in the Immortal Ruins auction were on the 5th floor. A small number of them had gone to the 4th floor. Lu Mushing had already asked someone to help Tang Ao with all the procedures for boarding the Void battleship. Tang Ao could board the Void battleship with his black gold identity card from the Chamber of Commerce in the Immortal Ruins. Tang Ao scanned with his soul remembrance, and found that his room was on the 3rd floor. In 2 hours this Void warship would depart. After boarding the Void battleship, Tang Ao saw that the 5th floor was filled with many large rooms. There were at least a few dozen warriors in each room, and at most there could be hundreds of warriors in one room. It was very noisy. The 4th floor was slightly better. It was also divided into countless rooms. However, there were about 20 warriors in each room on the 4th floor. The large room was divided into 20 small compartments. Apart from a few noisy rooms, most of the martial artists were quietly cultivating. Soon, Tang Ao followed the attendant to the 3rd floor. Because Tang Ao was carrying the unconscious Su Shiro, many people looked at Tang Ao strangely, but no one said anything. Those who could come to the 3rd floor all had simple identities. They were proud and arrogant, and it was easy for conflicts to arise. Therefore, after glancing at Tang Ao, everyone quickly walked away. Young master, this is the 36th room. There is a summoning array in the room. No matter what happens on the Void battleship, you can call me through the summoning array. The person who brought Tang Ao was a young girl. Her friend was at the 1st level of the life and death realm. She was smiling along the way, and her voice was very sweet, giving people a relaxed and happy feeling. Oh right, the destination of the Void battleship this time is the desolate martial domain, but we will pass through 3 immortal ruins on the way. Including the one before, we will pass through 2 more immortal ruins and reach the desolate martial domain. When passing through the immortal ruins, the Void battleship will stop for a short while. However, if there is nothing important, do not leave the Void battleship easily, the girl said warmly to Tang Ao. Tang Ao had a good impression of this enthusiastic girl. Immediately, Tang Ao asked, "From here to the desolate martial domain, including the time in between, how long will it take to get there?" This was the question that Tang Ao was most concerned about. For Tang Ao, the sooner he reached the desolate martial domain, the better. After all, the longer it took, the worse it would be for Sushiro's injuries. Although Lu Mushing said that it would take about 30 days from the immortal ruins to the desolate martial domain, Lu Mushing did not travel between the two places all year round. Therefore, compared to Lu Mushing, the maid on the ship clearly knew more. Chapter 24:31. Tang Ao nodded, then took out a bottle of elixir and handed it over. Seeing Tang Ao's elixir, the girl was somewhat stunned. This was because being a waiter on the Void warship was a lucrative job. Normally, as long as they stayed on the Void warship for 100 years, their wealth would be more than most of the guests on the third floor. Even the attendants on the Void warship like them lived in a special area on the third floor. They mainly served the VIPs on the first and second floor. However, since Tang Ao had given her the elixir, she had to accept it. After all, if she didn't accept it, she would be disrespecting the guests. Qinger smiled and said softly, "Thank you, young master." Before Qinger could finish, Tang Ao waved his hand casually. "My name is Tang Ao. You can call me Senior Brother Tang Ao or Big Brother Tang Ao in the future. I'm not used to it. Please give me a map of the Void warship and the map of the desolate martial domain." "Okay, Senior Brother Tang Ao." Qinger hesitated slightly but still agreed. However, this scene was coincidentally seen by a woman in a green dress who was passing by. When she saw that Qinger actually accepted Tang Ao's elixir, her eyes were filled with disdain. Riding the Void warship on the 5th floor required 100,000 immortal crystals, the 4th floor required 1 million low-grade immortal crystals, and the 3rd floor only required 10 million low-grade immortal crystals. Tang Ao was just a guest on the 3rd floor. How good could the elixir he casually gave be? What was funny was that Su Qing actually kept it like a treasure. Thinking of this, the woman in the green dress couldn't help but glance at Tang Ao. She found that Tang Ao was not bad-looking. Looking at Su Qing's appearance, could it be that she had taken a fancy to Tang Ao? After thinking of this, a vicious look flashed in the woman's eyes and she quickly left. Tang Ao and Su Qing didn't know any of this. After Tang Ao entered the room, Su Qing also left. The room that Tang Ao was in was very spacious. There was a cultivation room, a refining room, and a spirit pet room. It could be said that everything was available. Tang Ao carried Sushiro to the training room. Due to the constant corrosion of the grayish-white poison, Sushiro's face was very pale. Her body felt like it was on fire for a while, and then it felt like she had fallen into an ice cave. Perhaps Sushiro sensed that Tang Ao was beside her, but she was very quiet. But when Tang Ao put Sushiro on the bed, and was about to go to the window to see what was happening outside, Sushiro's body trembled. She seemed to be afraid because the things she was familiar with were gone. Looking at Sushiro's pale face, Tang Ao let out a long sigh. He had experienced too many things since his rebirth. The path of cultivation was too arduous. Sushiro had only known him for a short period of time. In that situation, Sushiro did not hesitate to save him. Tang Ao was very touched. No matter what, Tang Ao would not let anything happen to Sushiro. Sitting next to Sushiro, Tang Ao looked out the window of the Void battleship. The Void was not black. Instead, he could see many continents that shone with different light. There were also some meteorites that streaked across the sky. Apart from that, Tang Ao even saw some unique monsters in the Void. These monsters had one thing in common: their bodies were tough and they were extremely fast. Chapter 24:32. However, this Grade 2 Immortal Array was only a sub-array of a complete array. Hence, the crack created by the bat demonic beast slowly healed. Not long after, the array returned to its original state. Seeing this, Tang Ao secretly praised in his heart. He didn't know who made this void battleship, but the arrays on the entire battleship were interconnected, forming a super-large array. However, Tang Ao was still not satisfied with this array. Just now, a bat-like demonic beast had accidentally crashed into it and created a horizontal line. If a more powerful demonic beast came, wouldn't it be able to break this array and enter? With this thought, Tang Ao immediately took out the crafting furnace and started refining the array flags. A Grade 2 array was far from enough. No matter what, Tang Ao had to change this array to a Grade 3 immortal array. Pieces of materials were thrown into the crafting furnace by Tang Ao. Under Tang Ao's control, these materials were incinerated by the netherworld flame in the crafting furnace. Now that Tang Ao's netherworld flame had advanced to a Grade 3 immortal flame, its power was no longer the same as before. Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance was directly injected into the crafting furnace. On one hand, he controlled the formation of the array flags, while on the other hand, he carved an inscription array on the array flags. After a moment, 30 silver array flags appeared in Tang Ao's hands. Looking at these array flags, Tang Ao was very satisfied. Under his constant refining, his array formation had also made a lot of progress. After all, the inscription array used in refining was also a type of array. There were even many inscription arrays that were directly modified from arrays. The principle was the same. After refining the array flags, Tang Ao reinforced the cultivation room. Although Tang Ao knew that this was unnecessary, after setting up his own array in the room, Tang Ao felt much more at ease. After Tang Ao finished setting up the array, the restriction array outside Tang Ao's room was triggered. Tang Ao scanned with his soul remembrance, and found Su Qing outside his room. Tang Ao got up and walked out. After seeing Tang Ao come out, Su Qing immediately handed over the 2 jade slip. Senior brother Tang Ao, this is the route map of the Void Battleship and the regional distribution map of the Desolate Martial Realm. Thank you very much. After getting these 2 jade slips, Tang Ao was very grateful to Su Qing. These 2 jade slips may not have much value in the hands of others, but Tang Ao really needed these 2 jade slips. After a few words with Su Qing left, and Tang Ao also returned to his room. Before Su Qing left, she had told Tang Ao not to leave his room on the ruins of Immortality Battleship if there was nothing important. This was because the people on the Void battleships were all proud and arrogant people. It was very easy for conflicts to occur. Regarding this matter, Tang Ao did not care. Because Tang Ao was on the Void battleship, he would not leave Su Shiro's side unless there was something important. Apart from that, Tang Ao also inquired about this. If everything went smoothly this time, they would usually transfer through 3 ruins of immortality, spending 9 days on each ruins of immortality. In other words, they could reach the desolate martial realm in 27 days. However, if an accident happened, no matter how long they were delayed on the way, it was still possible. Su Qing said that in her memory, the longest time she had spent in the void was a year's time. Chapter 2433. Concocting the green yuan pill only required 3 immortal spirit herbs. These 3 immortal spirit herbs were the green yuan fruit, green yuan flower, and green yuan leaf. Even though the names of these 3 immortal herbs were very similar, they were actually 3 different immortal herbs. According to Pill Sage Greenrock's records, these 3 immortal herbs used to refine the green essence pill had long gone extinct during his era. Therefore, unless one was in some ancient ruins, it would be extremely difficult to find the green yuan pill. At this moment, Tang Ao felt the void warship suddenly tremble. Then, a clear and melodious voice spread throughout the entire void warship. Welcome, friends, aboard the heavenly star chamber of Commerce's Sky Dragon starship. Our destination this time is the desolate Martial Realm's southern wasteland region. It is estimated to take 27 days. The Sky Dragon is about to depart. Friends, please stay in your cultivation rooms and do not move around. Once the Sky Dragon stabilizes, everyone can move around freely. In his previous life, Tang Ao had cultivated to the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. However, Tang Ao could not leave the black-yellow continent, so he did not ride on this void warship. This was Tang Ao's first time riding on a void warship. As the melodious voice disappeared, the void warship began to tremble violently. This trembling was like an earthquake. At the same time, Tang Ao realized that he had been overthinking the array he had set up before. This was because the second-grade immortal array was clearly meant for martial artists to break from the inside. If any accidents happened, it would be used to escape. At this moment, as the void warship prepared to depart, the void warship's defense array also gradually appeared. This was a top-grade 8 immortal array. Even if a chaotic Heaven Realm expert attacked with all his strength, it would not be easy to break. Tang Ao's soul remembrance penetrated the defense array. Then, Tang Ao shockingly discovered that the void warship was flying at an astonishing speed. After Tang Ao obtained the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud, his speed was already fast enough. However, the speed of Tang Ao's Wind Thunder Dark Cloud was like a baby chasing a wild horse. After approximately 30 breaths, the void warship's flight gradually slowed down. At this moment, the void warship was no longer shaking. The clear and melodious female voice from before rang out once again. The void battleship has now entered a stable flight state. Fellow warriors, you may move about freely on the void battleship. The higher-level martial artists can go to the lower level, but the lower-level martial artists are not allowed to go to the higher level. I hope everyone will abide by the rules. Tang Ao nodded and thought to himself that there were quite a few rules on this void battleship. However, Tang Ao had no intention of leaving. If nothing special happened, Tang Ao would stay by Su Shiro's side to protect her. With a thought, Tang Ao summoned his Jade Bone Life Soul again. Under Tang Ao's control, the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul slowly changed shape in the air. Soon, the Jade Bone Life Soul transformed into 9 wisps of green air currents in the air. Tang Ao waved his hand, and the 9 cyan streams slowly revolved around Su Shiro. At the same time, a special Tao connotation circulated around the 9 airflows. This was a secret technique of the Jade Bone Life Soul, called the 9 Reincarnation Breath. Chapter 2434. Under the suppression of the Azure Yuan pill, Su Shiro even showed signs of waking up. However, Tang Ao waited for a long time, but Su Shiro still didn't wake up. After using the 9 Reincarnation Breath Restoration secret technique to nourish Su Shiro's body, Tang Ao didn't waste any time. The root of this matter was that his cultivation base was too weak. Not to mention that he was a celestial turbid realm martial artist. Even if he were only at the yin-yang realm, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state, and even almost killed by the White Crane Boy. Tang Ao had secretly decided that the first thing he would do after cultivating to the celestial turbid realm was to go to the North Sea realm and kill this hateful White Crane Boy. As for the immortal crystals for cultivation, Tang Ao had 40,000 mid-grade immortal crystals in his storage ring. 40,000 mid-grade immortal crystals was equivalent to 400 million low-grade immortal crystals. On the entire Void warship, there weren't many martial artists richer than Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao didn't cultivate immediately. Instead, he began to arrange an array in his room. Tang Ao had already decided that he wouldn't go out unless there was something special. He would cultivate in this room until the Void warship reached the desolate martial realm. Because cultivating the 9 Dragons Emperor Jade body would cause too much of a commotion, Tang Ao had to arrange an array in advance to prevent others from coveting it. One array flag after another was thrown out by Tang Ao. As Tang Ao formed a hand seal, the array flags disappeared into the void. A moment later, a third-grade spirit-concealing array appeared in Tang Ao's cultivation room. The spirit-concealing array only had one function, and that was to hide the fluctuations of immortal spiritual power. After arranging the spirit-concealing array, Tang Ao let out a sigh of relief. He then took out several thousand mid-grade immortal crystals from his storage ring and began cultivating. If someone were to witness this scene, they would definitely be shocked speechless by Tang Ao. For ordinary astral-reaching realm martial artists, taking out several dozen mid-grade immortal crystals for cultivation was already extravagant and more than enough. But now, Tang Ao had actually taken out thousands of intermediate-grade immortal crystals to cultivate. Ordinary warriors would not be able to absorb so many immortal crystals. But for Tang Ao, who had the 9 Dragons Emperor Jade body, it was just enough. After cultivating for so long, Tang Ao had a deep understanding of the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body. A martialist with the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body would have an immortal spiritual energy that was dozens of times more condensed than an ordinary martialist. This was also the reason why martialists with the 9 Dragons Emperor's Jade body were invincible among their peers. However, to condense the celestial spiritual energy like this, the amount of resources consumed was naturally not small. The amount of immortal crystals Tang Ao had taken out was enough for 100 astral-reaching realm martial artists to cultivate at the same time. However, for Tang Ao it was just enough. Tang Ao calmed his heart and calmed his mind. Then, he activated the mysterious heaven skill and started absorbing the dense immortal spiritual energy from the surrounding immortal crystals. After Tang Ao activated the mysterious heaven skill, the dense immortal spiritual energy from the thousands of mid-grade immortal crystals in the cultivation room was drawn out by Tang Ao. Above Tang Ao's head, a huge celestial spiritual energy whirlpool was formed. This whirlpool was like a whirlwind, continuously gushing into Tang Ao's body. After this celestial spiritual energy had completed one cycle in Tang Ao's body, it did not immediately merge into his spiritual sea. Instead, it started a second cycle. Chapter 2435. Therefore, it was not hard to imagine that in the same realm, Tang Ao would have a hard time meeting an opponent. However, while the 9 Dragon Emperor Jade body was powerful, it also consumed a terrifying amount of resources. The immortal crystals that filled the training room just now had actually been consumed by a small portion. Time passed slowly. During this period of time, Tang Ao had been cultivating and had never left. During this time, Tang Ao stopped once, which was when he reached the 3rd level of the astral reaching realm. Tang Ao once again used the 9 reincarnation breath secret technique. Tang Ao was originally at the peak of the 2nd level of the astral reaching realm. Now that he had broken through to the 3rd level, it could be said to be a matter of course. After breaking through to the 3rd level, Tang Ao continued to cultivate. However, faintly, Tang Ao felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, it would only take 27 days to travel from the immortal ruins to the desolate martial realm. Tang Ao calculated that today was already the 23rd day, but the void battleship was still accelerating. According to Tang Ao's thoughts, the battleship should have slowed down when approaching the desolate martial realm. With doubts in his mind, Tang Ao stopped cultivating. The immortal crystals that he had taken out before had also been consumed by half. Tang Ao estimated that the 30,000 mid-grade immortal crystals he had should be enough to support him until the 5th level of the astral reaching realm. The more cultivation resources he had, the faster his cultivation speed would be. Tang Ao was a 9th level astral reaching realm martial artist in his previous life. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about cultivating too fast and having an unstable realm. Feeling the surging immortal spirit power in his body, Tang Ao knew that this life's third-level astral-reaching realm could instantly kill the previous life's ninth-level astral-reaching realm. The difference between immortal spirit power and spirit power was like heaven and earth, impossible to measure. The gap between the hidden jade body and the Nine-Dragon Emperor jade body was also like a chasm that could not be crossed. After collecting all the remaining immortal crystals, Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to look outside through his array. Then, Tang Ao saw many martial artists appearing in the corridors and on the deck of the Void battleship. These martial artists looked outside the Void battleship's defense array. Some of their eyes were overheated as if they were looking at countless treasures. Some of them looked flustered, as if there was something terrifying in the distance. Tang Ao's soul remembrance followed the gazes of these warriors. Although Tang Ao saw that behind the Void warship was a horde of demonic beasts that covered the sky and covered the earth. At the same time, there were two more Void warships behind the one Tang Ao was on. The beasts were even closer to the two Void battleships, and many of them were already attacking the defensive barriers of the Void battleship. In fact, half a month ago, the Void warship had already notified them of the beast swarm. It was just that at that time, Tang Ao was in the critical period of breaking through, so he didn't notice it at all. At that moment, the Sky Dragon Void battleship suddenly shook violently. The sudden shaking shocked many people. They didn't know what was going on. Compared to the few martial artists who wanted to hunt these demonic beasts and make a fortune, the majority of the martial artists were extremely afraid of this kind of beast swarm that covered the sky and covered the earth. This old man is Song Yu, the Sky Dragon Guardian Elder. This time, a beast swarm broke out in the starry sky ocean, and a large number of demonic beasts appeared in front of us. All Sky Dragon martial artists, go to the deck and prepare. Chapter 2436. These three warships were clearly treasures of the Heavenly Star Chamber of Commerce. After the three warships appeared together, the defense arrays on the three warships immediately fused. The originally Grade 8 defense arrays instantly became Grade 9 defense arrays at this moment. Tang Ao saw all of this. While he was shocked, he also secretly envied the Heavenly Star Chamber of Commerce's extravagance. After the three warships' defense arrays fused, two martialists also flew out from the other two Void warships. Like Song Yu, these two martialists were similarly turbid Heaven Realm experts. After the three met, they immediately exchanged information. Then, Song Yu said in a clear voice, "I don't know why, but something strange happened in the starry sky sea this time, causing all the surrounding demonic beasts to riot. You are absolutely safe inside the warship's Heavenly Star Defense Array now. However, the Heavenly Star Defense Array can only be activated for a limited time. With the resources carried on the warship, it can only last for 10 days. Therefore, we have to dispose of these demonic beasts within these 10 days. The other two elders and I will deal with the powerful demonic beasts with turbid Heaven Realm cultivation. You guys hunt as many low-level demonic beasts as possible. After 10 days, no matter how many demonic beasts we kill, the Void warship will immediately set off. However, if there are too many demonic beasts obstructing us, the Void warship's resources will be exhausted. At that time, everyone will be in danger. Without further ado, everyone immediately head outside the defense array to hunt demonic beasts. All the gains from hunting demonic beasts this time will belong to everyone. Let me add one more thing. If anyone attacks a fellow cultivator, this old man will definitely extract his soul and refine it." After Song Yu finished speaking, he took the lead and rushed out of the Void warship's defense array without any hesitation. In the beast tide that erupted this time, there were a total of 4 turbid Heaven Realm demonic beasts. However, there were only 3 turbid Heaven Realm martialists on the Void warship. This was not good news to everyone. If the situation turned awry, the turbid Heaven Realm powerhouses could escape immediately. However, none of them could even dream of leaving. Originally, Tang Ao was unwilling to go out. However, now that they had encountered this sort of situation, Tang Ao could only go out and do his part. Tang Ao felt very helpless. They actually encountered a beast tide at such a critical time. When Tang Ao arrived on the deck, countless martial artists also rushed out to kill. For a moment, all kinds of colorful spells erupted in the entire world. Life souls were quickly summoned. The roars of demonic beasts and the screams of warriors could be heard. At this moment, the area around the Void battleship was in chaos. After observing for a while, Tang Ao discovered that there was a pack of Void demonic wolves not far from him. These demonic Void wolves were all at the 9th level of the Astral Reaching Realm. Right now, besides the Astral Reaching Realm warriors, there were also a few Yin-Yang Realm warriors fighting against the demonic Void wolves. In this beast tide, some of the demonic beasts were priceless, while some of them were worthless. For example, the pack of Void demon wolves that Tang Ao saw at this moment belonged to the category of demon beasts that were priceless. Whether it was wolf claws, wolf fangs, fur, or crystal stones, they could all be sold for a high price. Thus, most of the cultivators looked at this pack of Void demonic wolves with burning gazes. However, among the cultivators attacking the Void demonic wolf, only a few managed to kill it. Most of the cultivators were killed by the Void demonic wolf. Chapter 2437. Not far from the Void wolves was a group of lava monsters. These lava monsters were surrounded by boiling heat waves. Although they looked frightening because of their slow movements, these lava monsters were actually the easiest to deal with. However, there were not many martial artists dealing with these lava monsters. Only life and death martial artists and early astral reaching martial artists would deal with these lava monsters. This was because these lava monsters had no value. When they died, the fire crystal nucleus within their bodies would also extinguish, turning them into ordinary rocks. Among the numerous demonic beasts around the Void warship, lava monsters occupied at least 30%. While having the lowest value, they posed the greatest threat to the Void warship. This was because when these lava monsters crashed into the Heavenly Star Defense Array, they would immediately self-detonate. The self-detonation would cause quite a bit of damage to the array. However, because the value of these lava monsters was too low, not many martial artists chose to deal with them at this moment. However, these lava monsters could not be ignored. Therefore, all the guards and maids on the Void warship were dealing with these lava monsters. Tang Ao soon saw Su Qing in the crowd. She was holding a staff in her hand. This kind of immortal artifact was really too rare. At this moment, among the people on the ship, there were quite a few who used swords, and even more who used blade. There were also quite a few who used spears and staff. However, among those who used an immortal artifact like Su Qing, Tang Ao only saw Su Qing after looking around. Tang Ao saw Su Qing holding the staff in her hand and pointing it forward. A bright light whizzed out and pierced through the heart of a lava monster. Tang Ao thought it was interesting. This kind of immortal artifact was something Tang Ao had never seen before. Although it did not look as sharp as a sword, its power was still not bad. The only drawback was that it was a bit slow. Right now, Su Qing was in the crowd, so she was naturally fine. Moreover, every time she attacked, she would be able to take down a lava monster. However, if Su Qing were to face a lava monster alone, she would have long been killed by it if she attacked slowly like this. Right at this moment, a lava monster, perhaps because Su Qing had been sneak attacking its own kind, roared and charged toward Su Qing. Seeing this ferocious lava monster, Su Qing was a little stunned. Sensing the powerful aura of this lava beast, the warriors around Su Qing actually backed off quickly, as if they were afraid of being caught in the explosion. Su Qing was only at the 9th stage of life and death realm. Even if the staff in her hand was powerful, how could she be the opponent of this lava monster? What's more, Su Qing was completely scared out of her wits. She couldn't even escape. Little Qing, run! A girl who had a good relationship with Su Qing grabbed Su Qing fiercely and pulled her away. However, since she was only at the first level of the astral reaching realm, it was obvious that she would not be able to avoid the attack range of the lava monster. Seeing the lava monster's giant flame blade, Su Qing and her friend fell into despair. Su Qing's eyes were filled with guilt. Because of her cowardice, she had implicated her good friend. But just when everyone thought that Su Qing and Wang Fang would be killed by this giant flame blade, a sword cry suddenly cut through the void. The surrounding cultivators could not help but be startled by this sword hum. In such a chaotic battlefield, this sword hum was too amazing and special. Chapter 2438. At this time, everyone came to their senses. An expert had taken action and saved Su Qing and the girl. Immediately, everyone looked in the direction of the sword Qi and saw Tang Ao charging over with the green lotus sword. After saving Su Qing, Tang Ao did not speak to her but immediately charged into the lava monsters. At this moment, Tang Ao was clearing these lava monsters and also venting the grievances in his heart. Whether it was being severely injured by the White Crane Boy or having the Shenong Cauldron forcefully borrowed, Tang Ao was very depressed. At this moment, on the way to the desolate martial domain, it could be said that every second counts, but these hateful monsters just had to block the way. At the beginning, Tang Ao was still using the Green Lotus Sword Soul to kill the lava monsters. Later, the Green Lotus Sword Soul directly turned into 7 Green Lotus Swords and strangled the lava monsters around Tang Ao, while Tang Ao took out the Crimson Gold Sword that had been refined 5 times. Around Tang Ao, a storm of sword Qi appeared in an instant, and the ferocious lava monsters were all mercilessly killed by Tang Ao at this moment. Around Tang Ao, lava monsters constantly burst into flames. This was the last explosion before the lava monsters died. For a moment, it was like fireworks were set off around Tang Ao. Looking at Tang Ao in the distance, everyone could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. At this moment, in the eyes of everyone, Tang Ao was even more terrifying than the lava monsters. This is a ruthless person, we must not offend him on the ship. That's right, that's right. This person's murderous intent is too heavy, and his attacks are all killing moves. Look at this area of lava monsters, almost all of them were killed by him. It must be because fighting is not allowed on the Void battleship. This person has suppressed it for too long and has long been unable to control it. Fortunately, at this moment, he vented it in the beast tide, otherwise, he would not be able to suppress it. On the Void battleship, I'm afraid there will be warriors who will suffer. Because Tang Ao's performance was too shocking, many warriors saw Tang Ao. Tang Ao's entire body was shrouded in sword Qi, and he was standing among the lava monsters as if there was no one there. With just a wave of his hand, the lava monsters let out miserable screams. Everyone had already classified Tang Ao as a dangerous person. At the same time, everyone secretly rejoiced in their hearts that Tang Ao had only killed the worthless lava monsters. If Tang Ao had gone to kill the Void Wolves, it would have been a complete waste of resources. Because every time Tang Ao attacked, the sword Qi would wreak havoc, and even the extremely hard lava monsters would be directly smashed. If Tang Ao attacked the Void Wolves, Tang Ao would probably only a pile of rotten meat. At this moment, there were still some warriors who were originally fighting with the lava monsters, but soon, these people realized. The horrifying roars of the lava monsters had turned into screams at this moment. Everyone looked over and saw Tang Ao, who was killing to his heart's content in the lava monsters. Right then, Tang Ao was indeed killing to his heart's content. These lava monsters' strength ranged from Astral Reaching Realm Level 1 to Astral Reaching Realm Level 6. Tang Ao had not seen a single one above the 6th level. However, the red gold sword in Tang Ao's hand seemed to be the natural counter for the lava monsters. Adding on Tang Ao's 7-killing divine Dao, it produced such a shocking effect. When Tang Ao used the red gold sword to kill the lava monsters, the fire essence inside their bodies would be directly absorbed by the red gold sword. After the red gold sword absorbed the fire essence, its aura became more and more powerful. In the beginning, Tang Ao only wanted to test his strength after breaking through to astral reaching realm level 3. But now, after Tang Ao found out that killing lava monsters could make the red gold sword evolve, Tang Ao immediately chased after the lava monsters with excitement. However, Tang Ao did not expect that in everyone's eyes, he had become a crazed demon with too much killing intent. However, at this moment, Tang Ao had no idea how the warriors around him saw him. Originally, when Tang Ao forged the red gold sword, it was only a rank 4 immortal weapon. The red gold sand used to forge the sword had 60% of its impurities removed by Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao found out that as the fire essence of the lava monsters continued to pour into the sword, more and more impurities were forced out. This scene shocked even Tang Ao. Before the immortal weapon was formed, if Tang Ao had enough time, he could remove 70% of the impurities in the red gold sand in front of Tang Ao. However, that was the result of Tang Ao using the ice purification art. But now, because the fire essence of the lava monsters was continuously being absorbed, the impurities in the red gold sword were being removed bit by bit. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.